Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here again, and welcome to some exciting views of very rare vintage psychic training tools. Well, here's another one, the amazing Dunninger mind reading game, and this is manufactured by Hasbro in 1967. It's an oversized game. It's pretty big and a little bit clumsy. These are one of the few things that you often still find, I guess because they were made by Hasbro. Dunninger was a fascinating magician of his time. He was one of the most popular magicians of all time. He died in 1975, so he's kind of been forgotten, but he was in the same era as Houdini and was very popular in the 1930s, going to the White House with Franklin Delano Roosevelt and other politicians. Let me put the board that comes with this up. It's quite a cool little board. Nice full color, heavy. Got this really cool Egyptian motif again, which is generally so popular in general. So if I can get this balanced here. Here we go. You can see how cool this is. You can play with up to 4 people. Now, he was a great psychic researcher as well. He's basically a mentalist. You know, you could kind of call him a Kreskin-type character. Where they did these mentalism, which are all tricks, even though Kreskin, like Dunninger, was involved in ESP. Of course, it was even more with Kreskin when he first started off having an ESP Institute, a newsletter, etc., where they're actually working with the mind and didn't joke about it, as they've all sold out to the criminal element of the dumb bunkers and idiot skeptics, who are nothing more than shills for industry. Joseph Dunninger, the man with the miracle mind, has astonished diplomats, scientists, crowns, heads of state, and millions of theater, radio, television fans with his feats of mental communication, and by no means least upon the list, 6 presidents of the United States, before whom he appeared by invitation. He has conducted exhaustive research on telepathy and the study of the unknown functions of the mind. Dunninger believes that nearly everyone can become a mind reader from his own observations while conducting experiments of a mind reader, is convinced that the ability appears to exist in vast majority of persons. Mind reading depends on telepathy, formerly termed thought transference. You know, telepathy is new. It's called thought transference, or mind telegraphy. As you can see, well, that was when the telegraph was still going. While the physical causes of telepathy have not been determined, the facility itself has been demonstrated, and therefore we now we have some knowledge of how it functions, even though we do not know exactly why it does. Based on his extensive research, Dunninger has developed the mind-reading game to prove that anyone can read a thought. Not a game of chance, the mind-reading game provides an experiment to demonstrate that a coincidental thought can be gained by 2 people without the aid of recognized communication to a degree that precludes the possibility of chance. The mind-reading game has a board requiring 104 moves to progress from the start position to the center likeness of Dunninger himself. The game may be played with 2 to 4 players, whose positions are indicated by temples of the sun, earth, sky, and moon. Each player selects a temple of their desire. Each player assumes the role of telepathist in the position opposite his subject receiving. And we'll go into all that in detail, but it's a typical send and receive psychic game, just as you would use regular Zener ESP type cards, you know, those real boring stuff. Each player would have a particular color. Obviously green. Right? You would put the card that you were actually going to send to someone, you would insert it in your holder, as I'm doing here, and of course that's what you would be sending over. The opposite to you, which would be the red, he would have to find the same card that you were sending to him. And of course these can be isolated out. I'm going to go into all the rules. Boring. We're just going to show you what these are all about. What you get is 4 players with these different color cards. The cards are all the same though. What's in there are colors and numbers. I think there are some letters as well. You have a scorecard. You know, they all give you these scorecards. Here's a whole pad of them. Here's the actual pieces you move around the board. As you get things right, you try and get into the center there, basically winning. You also get what is basically 2 pages of instructions, which I just read some. It's a pretty easy game. Basically, it's just a game where you're actually sending and receiving thoughts. So you can see how, you know, this was done by Hasbro in 1967. Now, this is the time when the ESP game came out. I don't know if Hasbro made that or Parker Brothers at that time. ESP game from, which was a hit by Kreskin. So this seems to be either a follow-up or not. And you got to remember, you may not have heard of Dunninger, but, you know, he's equivalent to Houdini. I'm not sure how big Kreskin was back then, but apparently Kreskin was pretty big in the actual 60s and 70s, because his game came out, the ESP game, in 67, 8, or 9, somewhere in that area, the same time that this was made. So this may be a way of answering that game, which is very popular. Certainly a lot of these, like Kreskin's game, you can find these online very easily. Kreskin's game you can. This is a little harder to find, but these still seem to be around, and if you want to get one, but it's a great training game for someone else. It's a fun thing. You can play this with other people that aren't really even into it that much, and they can more guess. But this is a send and receive telepathy game. How cool is that? And it's very well made. These are made out of wood. As you can see, the board is very full color and interesting. I've seen different boards on this game as well. The layout is different. This is a very cool Egyptian themed game. I'll show you something that's kind of cool. I always like to find, you know, what extra. I don't have any price tags on this. We're assuming this is $3 or $4, but this is an insert that came with the game. So you were able to get this little book of children's stories for 10 cents, which is kind of interesting in itself. But what's kind of cool is that you would actually send the coin in this special envelope. Okay, you would fold it over, you place the dime there, you fold it over, and it doesn't say to put a stamp on here or not. Fill the name and address and mail in the envelope to the above address. Does that mean that postage was included as well? Apparently. So you can get this book sent to you for 10 cents that you sent in this. And apparently even the postage was free. God, times have changed. Cost of everything is through the roof, of course. And you get less for your money, yada, yada. Same old story, same old world. Okay. So this very cool training tool by the famous Dunninger. And if you're really fascinated with him and want to know more about him, he was another exposing of mediums and everything else. Of course, while he was filling his own pockets. Apparently, he was very popular. Presidents, Thomas Edison. He had a whole bunch of friends that were big people at that time. But, you know, this is when magic was very, very popular, and this is why they were so afraid when mediums came in. The mediums were taking away a lot of business. As a matter of fact, Houdini had all sorts of fears that he would be out of business and lose all his money because of the actual spiritualists, which was much more interesting than watching tricks or mentalism, was talking to the dead. So they all went after him and went after them, and of course so did he. And they exposed people, supposedly, who were frauds, and he even testified against somebody in court. These are all the types of things that these people did it that day. I think it's great entertainment. There's no reason why you can't have it. Spiritualists that help people talk to their past relatives. Is there anything wrong with that? I don't really think so. Certainly, it's more fascinating and rewarding than watching some idiot magician do some fake stuff in front of you and then claim they're mystical, like so many of them do. Even Kreskin infers at times that he has special abilities. All of these people do it, and there are magicians today that is a whole part of their routine is being that they are special and magical. You know, they're not doing tricks. This is what I do, as one popular magician recently told a reporter. You know, this is the game they play to make it more interesting, while the other side of their mouth they say how bogus psychic empowerment is. And he was known as the amazing Dunninger. Yeah, did we have that from some other little turd out there who, thank God, is now dead? But these are the fun things that are out there. These are the kind of things you would find in your local store. These are the things that were being sold in 1967. So it is fascinating of what was out there at that time. And of course, that was really the golden age, the late 60s into the early 70s. Things started to go down in the middle 70s. When we reached the 80s, while there was a pagan movement and a magical movement, a lot of the psychic stuff was not as popular then. So quite fascinating. This is one of those rare things I've taken a little extra time with. Watch, make sure that you like and subscribe, and watch the links down below. We'll have places where you can actually purchase this, and possibly with other items. And of course, we have all sorts of tools that will train you psychically. If you're not doing psychic training, if you're not working out, and this is an occult gym tool, if you're not doing that, you're not going to get anywhere. Until next time, lots more to come.